Hey everybody, it's Kelly and Sophie Doyle. Honey, do you want to say hi to everybody? Oh, there she is. Good girl. I love you, baby. Oh my God. Love you. Good girl. So as you can see from the background, we're not on our van today. We're visiting some family for the holidays, gracing them with our presents for the holidays. Now, the 2019 RTR is coming up, and I'm seeing a lot of people commenting about not wanting to go because of the crowds. Those of you who have been around for a while since I started the YouTube know that I did have trouble with the RTR last year as an introvert. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot from last year's RTR. I'm going to be doing something differently, and I'd like to share some of those tips with you. In this video, we're going to start out with a brief description of what is an introvert, and then quickly answer the question, are you an introvert? And then I'm going to share with you guys my top 4 tips on how to survive the 2019 RTR as an introvert. So being introverted doesn't mean shy, although some are, but the general definition of an introvert is introverts recharge being alone in solitude, while extroverts, they get recharged in crowds. You know, they feed off the energy of the crowds, whereas introverts get drained. Also, introverts tend to be more internal focused. Their attention is more focused towards thoughts, feelings, and emotions, where extroverts tend to be more focused on the external, what's going on around them. 3, it's not something that needs to be fixed. It's biological. They've done a lot of studies and brain scans. They've done a lot of brain scans. Check it out on Google. There's all these different chemical compositions that are different in introverts and extroverts. It's biological. It doesn't need to be fixed. Basically, introverts' brains have a higher sensitivity to stimulation than extroverts. There are even studies that are showing that introverts process more information per second. Their brains process more information per second, so they get overload faster. So those of you who are thinking maybe you're an introvert but you never really looked into it, first of all, it's on a spectrum. You know, there's your extreme extroverts, your extreme introverts. Most people fall in between. And no two introverts are exactly alike. But in general, if you're wondering if you're an introvert, I have a little quick checklist to know if you are an introvert. Number 1, if you find small talk to be as painful as a tooth extraction without Novocaine, you might be an introvert. Number 2, if your Facebook or Instagram or photo album is all nature and animals and if any people, you might be an introvert. Number 3, if your idea of a night on the town is a party of one, you might be an introvert. Number 4, if you live alone, work alone, and still at the end of the day need alone time, you might be an introvert. And last but not least, number 5, if after being in crowds you feel like a deflated balloon and everybody sounds like the Charlie Brown teacher, you might be an introvert. Okay guys, real quick, my top 4 tips on how to survive the 2019 RTR as an introvert. So number 1, the most obvious thing is to park away from the crowds, park on the outskirts of the RTR. I don't know how possible that is at this RTR, but there is Scat and Wash right next to the RTR. It's a big BLM area. You can get a 2-week pass there, and you park there where you always have a place of your own to recharge and regroup, and you can come into the RTR as you want. Just like if you lived in the city, you go home. There's always that safe place for you, and then you go back, you go out to events, and you go back to your safe place. Also, there's the LTVA. It's $40 for 2 weeks. You get water, dump, and trash, and a bit of security, and there are a lot of videos on that where you can get more information on that. You can Google LTVA, BLM LTVA. A lot of people did that last year where they stayed at the LTVA and just like parking away from the crowds, and then they would come into the RTR and go back home. Now, this one seems obvious, but there's always that temptation to, you don't want to miss anything, you want to be in the group. And last year I did. I started in the middle of everything, and my brain was just going down. So I moved out a little bit with a few friends, and I'm like, ah. So finally, towards the end, I went way out, and I parked far away from the crowds, and it was just like night and day. And I finally felt like, there's this feeling of, it's like I could breathe again, I could think again, I could feel my own feelings, and that really did the trick. Number 2 is to know your limits. When you start feeling like people are starting to sound like the Charlie Brown teacher, when you start feeling deflated, you got to get away, and it's really hard, you don't want to miss anything again, but you know your limits, and you respect your limits, and you take your alone time when you need to regroup, recharge, and then you could get back into it again. My tip number 3 is to schedule alone time, schedule recharge time. This is a 2-week event. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and things are cumulative. My experience is it's cumulative. So even if you do every day, you respect your boundaries, over time you might start feeling overwhelmed and drained like a deflated balloon. So, whatever that thing is, maybe it's in your van reading or watching videos or taking a nap. For me, it's getting completely away from people and going for a hike, being with nature, near nature, going for a hike. That really recharges me. And, some people maybe just go for a drive through town, just whatever it is that recharges you. Find out what those things are and do them. And my tip number 4 is the woo stuff, the energy stuff. I spent 2 years studying energy healing, energy work, and this stuff, it's scientifically proven. We're made of energy, the earth is made of energy, everything's made of energy, and if you learn how to manage your energy around other people, you will be able to handle it better, being around crowds. So very briefly, some of the tools are, the first thing is grounding. The earth has a different frequency than we do. You ground into the earth, you ground into Mother Earth, and it changes your frequency, it calms you down. You do your breathing, your grounding, your centering, and they even go as far as to talk about imagining like an energy force field around you where you're not affected by others people's energy. So it doesn't have to be a long, meditation with your legs crossed, You just 1 or 2 minutes every morning, every afternoon, whenever you're feeling the need is to just breathe, get centered, bring your energy back, bring all your energy back. This is especially for empaths who are very sensitive to other people's energy. You bring your energy back. You envision centering, you're centering. You do your grounding. You amplify your personal life force. And then you imagine a force field around you, keeping other people's energy out. So that's it. Maybe it seems simple. I hope this might help some other people out there who are really nervous and are going to avoid the RTR because they're nervous about being in the crowds. If anyone else has any tips on how you manage being in groups as an introvert, I would really love to hear them. And I think especially if you think it could help others, honestly, I've always said that I wish there was some kind of introvert support group, but would anyone show up? So that's it, you guys. Those are my tips on how to survive the 2019 RTR as an introvert. If you found this video to be helpful, feel free to share on your social media and hit subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you very much. I'm Kelly Doyle. This is Sophie Doyle. Thank you for watching and have a beautiful day.